So my third design is inspired by a trip that I recently did, which was before COVID, and I managed to squeeze in an industry-related floral event in Canada in March 2019. Just before the world closed down, I was very fortunate to be able to participate in a trend summit that was run and sponsored by a Canadian floral art growers, and some fantastic superstars of the floristry industry were there, and I was very much inspired by the design that Hitomi Gilliam did one day, and so I thought I would actually show you. But it's a very fascinating design in the fact that I'm sure some of you out there have been poised with this conundrum before. So what I've got here is a very short glass vase. Most people have got a cylindrical vase that they love, and majority of the time they are very useful because a lot of our flower materials come in 40 to 50 centimeters tall. So you only need a very small vase. But what happens when you are given the opposite of very short flowers, very, very tall flowers? And here in Australia, we've just seen some beautiful Australian natives. We also have a very tropical side to Australia, and their tropical materials are all coming through from Cairns and from Darwin, and they're coming down in droves at the moment and not being exported. So here in Sydney, the flower markets are awash with gingers and heliconias coming down from the tropics. So this design was inspired by the beautiful tropical materials that we get here in the Sydney markets, and the conundrum of what to do with these beautiful tropical materials and a very short vase. So what I've done before filling up the glass of water, I've taken the square decorative chicken wire and wrapped it around the cylindrical vase and placed half of it underneath. So I can actually lift this up just by the chicken wire, and the whole structure is very firm and very secure. So working in industry, which I also do in retail, we do corporate arrangements. So we decorate offices, we decorate hotels, not so much at the moment, but in previous years a great deal. So this would actually create a very versatile arrangement for a corporate vase, which we could then change the shape. We could elongate the shape of it. So the first bit of the decorative wire finishes just so, and then the second piece I've got overlaps the first and then joins up. I've also reinforced the framework with some bamboo cane, which just came off a curtain bamboo. Meadowlino, it is a material that is very popular. I couldn't get hold of any, but I have a beautiful bamboo cane, which is now a floristry material. And then going on Hitomi's beautiful idea of the Meadowlino extenders. Now, because I didn't have this, I had to improvise. So what we have inside are these bamboo canes and a little bit of aluminium wire, which I then covered in wool, which then create this beautiful sort of vine-like texture. Overlapping with that, I've got some beautiful dry kiwi vine. Now the kiwi vine, you might be able to get where you are. We have it growing wild over our fence due to our next door neighbours lovingly producing kiwis. So these kiwi vines, I help them prune the tree once or twice a year, and then I take the spoils back to my back to the workroom and then strip down all the leaves and just leave it to dry. And the forms are fantastic. It creates this beautiful curve, interesting depth to the design. So there we have it. Oh, and then I've also created little areas where I've attached glass water vials to bring down the colour with some beautiful tropicals, which we'll go into later. And so the glass will actually create sort of reflective, but we've got the vials on the outside so that I can actually create the colour all the way down, even in the area that is just the glass. So what I'm going to start by doing is taking some passion flower vine, and again it is the season for passion flower vine, and I will be feeding this through. Again, some of it will go inside the glass vase and some of it will go outside the glass vase. And what we'll be doing, what I'm going to be doing, so I can feed it through into the vase. Now, noting that it will need a fresh cut today because of the warmth. So feeding that through, and then, oh well, that looks fabulous, just like that, doesn't it? So, right, well now we have the passion flower vine all the way through the design. So arguing with the little tendrils, but they do look fabulous just coming out of the design, where most of the other vines have really been twisted through and caught within the other vines and textures. So we've got layers to the design now. So we've got the outer layer of the gorgeous passion flower leaves, then going through to the kiwi vine, then to go through to the medallino extenders. So it's rather an interesting structure just as it stands. Most of the kiwi vine, passion fruit vine, is actually in the water. It does like to be hydrated, especially in the Australian heat. If it's going to be in air condition, it does like to be hydrated. So I've made sure that most of the passion fruit vine are submerged in quite a lot of deep water. You can see how it is extended all the way up, just as it would be growing in a natural environment. I'm now going to start with the flower material, and I've got some rather beautiful calla lilies which are grown in New South Wales, and so we've got some depth of colour that is going to come through the design, starting off with placing it in the water vials that we've got through. And the beauty of having all of these layers is I can just tuck the bendy stem of the calla lilies through the framework, and you can see that the stem is the same colour as the passion fruit vine. So it's just like an extension of that stem, and it's a repetition of that colour coming through the beautiful design. So now we've got, I can actually, I'm placing some of the calla lilies, or this particular stem of the calla lily, through into the water, so it's got its own water source through from the vase, and then just tucking the head through. So we've got the movement coming up through the design. I'm going to create a little bit of a grouping with that stem itself. So we're going to have two very close together to really enforce and to build up that colour. And that's going to, how are we going to do that? We're just going to wiggle that through. It's not really a technical term, wiggle, but feed, thread, weave, there we go. But to create a strong grouping of the calla lilies at that point in the design. And then I have the water vials right at the top here, which I'm also going to be placing one of the colours. So we've got the colour coming right at the top. I'm just popping out to the top. The calla lilies coming in bunches of 5 in the flower market, so very useful for our floristry odd numbers. So I'm actually going to place this one through here. So on one side, we've actually, I'm going to place that through on the other side. Yeah. So that we, all the way through the design, I've got these beautiful water vials. So I'm dictated to where I'm placing the colours further up. There we go. That one's misbehaving a little bit, but we get the idea that the colours are coming up through the design. I've also got some beautiful tropical Anthuriums. These aren't Australian grown, but they come from a very close neighbour. Singapore, Thailand, they come into the Sydney markets twice or 3 times a week when it's very, very busy. What I like about the Anthuriums and this design is because it's such a linear design and the space in the Anthurium are so vertical as well, I'm going to place them so they actually follow the line of the design. So it's again reinforcing the column, the verticalness of this design I've got playing here. Now, the beautiful variety that I chose is a little bit non-conspicuous. It sort of blends in quite a lot with the actual design itself. And what I'm looking for, there we go. I'm going to put this one down here. So, I'm going to get very cozy in this water tube so that I've got 3 stems. Luckily, my Anthuriums, I know, are not a thirsty flower, and the callas aren't a thirsty flower, so they will be able to tolerate all being in the same water tube and won't be thirsty and greedy and take up all the water that's actually at their disposal. If this was going to go into an office, I would make sure that I maybe used larger water tubes so that the flowers would be happy for the whole week. The beauty of using the decorative, so I'm popping around the corner so that you see me. I'm sort of, if I don't want to talk to you, I'll just hide. I'll just get busy behind the shrubbery. So what we need to do is utilise the fact that we've got a wonderful vase at our disposal, as well as the tubes. So I can actually place some of the material straight into the water, and they will be taking the water straight from the cylinder vase. But then I've also got opportunity to create depth by using the water vials on the outside of the design. I was really, really inspired by this design when I saw it, and I just thought how wonderful the potential. Everybody has got a small vase that they don't know what to do with. And now, hopefully, by sharing this wonderful technique that I learned, you can all say, oh, my small little vase that only comes out when I have tulips or I have anemones or very short flowers, are now given a new lease of life. See how I've spotted the Anthuriums? Because they're quite a large-headed flower, I've sort of gathered them around, but using the whole circular area of the design. The 2 here are very close together, and then I've got one on the opposite side and one further up, and then one right at the top. So your eye will be travelling around from bottom to top, inspired and enthralled by what's going on inside. Okay, sorry, I'm funking my materials down. One of the lovely Sydney growers have lotus pods and lotus flowers just growing in their dam. And those people that have watched and been avidly looking at what Australia's up to, this time last year we were really in the throes of a lot of bushfires after 2 years of drought. So a lot of the growers' dams were empty, and it was very, very sad and heartbreaking for a lot of growers. Luckily the rains came in March, and all the way through. We've had a lot of rain since then. So all of the dams are full, which means that the lotus pods are back. But they're cute. They're not as large and as bulbous as sometimes we can get from overseas. They're very delicate and small, and that's why I like them. Again, it's the same green. I like the fact that it was the same green. But over time, the lotus pods will dry and then will actually turn out the same colour as the kiwi vine. So over time, the design will change and we can actually have an awful lot of interest going on. The stems are magnificently long. So by placing the lotus pod right in the top there, I'm going to place that one there, and then sometimes when you cut the lotus stems, lots of water gushes out. So you've got to be mindful that you're not doing it over your best pair of trousers, because you might get covered in water. Now I'm feeding this second stem straight through, and it's going to behave itself because I can see it trying to pop out the other side. Yep. Okay. And what I wanted that to do was just, if I turn the table round, so we've got the two lotus pods sitting quite nice and high, really using the length of the stem, and they will just pop out of the design up the top. I'm not going to go totally crazy with those so that it disappears. I think that just two of those will be good. Now, I've actually got a couple of water vials that need to be filled. So I've got some beautiful, really bright and stunning Vanda orchids, which will nestle beautifully in the design to create some interest up high through the design. So we've got that one there, and then I'm going to do a little one down at the bottom. Now, lovely Vanda orchids are a little bit like humans on a hot summer day. We like to be spritzed in the face with water. So I will spritz the beautiful Vandas in the face with water after I've done this demonstration, because the heat of the day is coming to, well, it's not even reaching its full crescendo, but you can see that the ends of the petals are starting to look a little bit sad. So it definitely needs to be spritzed in the face. So it will enjoy that, and because the petals take up water through the face of the petals. I said that twice, but it re-emphasised the fact that we do need to look after our flowers and really take notice of what they're actually doing and telling us. So they're telling us that it's getting a bit thirsty. Okay, what do you think? Is that something that you would enjoy doing? Now, one of the reasons why I did this design is because I'm going to show you a fantastic piece of material that I had to pick up from the flower markets, and then it dictated why I did this design. Now, what I'm doing is I'm turning the design around to think about the best placement to put this final piece of material, and I'm thinking it's going to go in there. Isn't this gorgeous? I had to leave it the length of stem because that is absolutely phenomenal. This stem came from the market just as it is, and it's absolutely stunning. Can you see the colours? I've picked up the colours in the calla. I've picked up that lime green in the passion fruit vine. It just all sings as far as I'm concerned, and that will add a beautiful elongation down the side of the vase and showcase these beautiful tropical flowers. Cutting at a slight angle. Now what we can do is take off this outer stem here. So from my English roots, I've come quite far, haven't I? Right, now I'm going to go right out. I might be out of camera shot, but here we go. I have to go right up high to get that beautiful stem in. Oh, I'm in love with this design. It's stunning. Okay, lovely ladies and gentlemen of the webinar. That's my third piece.
That's stunning.
isn't it?